I'm just wondering if just the name manufacturing sounds like a guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the absolute state of the Democratic Party in the United States today. This woman, Ms. Schakowsky, apparently thinks that manufacturing, the very word manufacturing, is putting off women from wanting to work in the manufacturing sector because it begins with the word man, apparently. Let's see what the Young Turks, Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur have to say about this.
Well, that was yet another Democratic lawmaker making a fool out of herself, embarrassing the Democratic Party with a ridiculous question about why there aren't enough women working in the manufacturing industry. Could it be that the name manufacturing sounds like a guy? Or could there be other factors at play? Cenk, what do you think?
Oh, please stop. Please stop. Okay, I'm going to propose something that could end the Democratic Party a little bit later in this story. I don't want it. I don't want it. And I'm going to give you a little background on Schakowsky. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that was Representative Jen Schakowsky, Democrat, of course. And I mean, like, what is she proposing here? What is she suggesting? Should we call it manufacturer? And maybe more women will take manufacturing jobs? Like, what is going on? Anyway.
Oh, missed opportunity there. We should call it womanfacturing. Womanufacturing. Womanufacturing. There we go. Womanufacturing. Or humanufacturing, maybe? Something like that.
And by the way, she asked that question to a literal MIT professor. And so let's get into the details of the hearing and what this was all about. So last Tuesday, the subcommittee, a subcommittee in the House was basically focusing on why there aren't many young people or women involved in manufacturing jobs. And here's the full question from Jan Schakowsky.
Yesterday, I met with a manufacturing company, but they also are engaged in getting young people more engaged in manufacturing. So I asked them, so how many of those students that are signing up and want to do this, how many are women? And they said, well, I know there's at least 13% or something. It was a low number. And you had mentioned trying to engage more women in manufacturing. I'm just wondering if just the name manufacturing sounds like a guy. And how can we get more? Certainly there's a lot of room for women. What are you doing to make that happen?
So just so you have all the full details, this is the subcommittee on commerce, manufacturing, and trade. And so the MIT professor, Elizabeth Reynolds, who Schakowsky was addressing, basically paid no mind to the manufacturing sounding like a guy comment. Instead, she decided to address how the lack of women has more to do with the shortage of workers in the manufacturing industry overall. So let's take a look at her answer.
Thank you very much for that question. And it's very important, particularly given the shortage of workers we've just been talking about. Half a million currently, and close to 2 million within 10 years. We need to bring everybody into the manufacturing workforce, including women, who represent about 30% of the workforce today, underrepresented given that they're 46% of the total workforce in the country. So I think there are a number of things that we could be doing. First point is to say that the kind of manufacturing we're talking about now with AI and automation and all of the type of developments we're talking about really should change the view of manufacturing in this country. Historically, we think of it as dirty, dull, physically laborious. That's completely gone now in the 21st century. And I think that will be helpful in terms of attracting the next generation into manufacturing.
I always wonder, why do we have to encourage more women in manufacturing or in any sector, in science, in STEM? Why do we have to encourage more minorities or some other group? Why don't we just let them do what they want? If they want to go into it, they'll go into it. If somebody has a natural inclination to go into a certain area, then they'll do it. There are no barriers to it. Nobody's, I mean, of course, the liberals and the progressives and all that will shriek that there are systemic barriers because culture itself, our very culture, the very culture that created the manufacturing industry, Western European culture, men basically created manufacturing industry. Everything that's manufactured was pretty much conceived of, designed, actually manufactured, maintained by men, right? Western men of European descent. But for some reason, we have to get more women or more of this group or that group in. Nobody ever explains why that's necessary or even a good thing.
And I should note that manufacturing employment among women is actually on the rise, rising to 62,000 post-pandemic, up to 2022. And that's compared to an additional 5,000 men taking manufacturing jobs in the same time period. And if you look at this graph, it kind of shows you there are comparable men and like a comparable percentage of men and women taking these manufacturing jobs in recent years. So this isn't really a gender issue or a sex issue. It's more about the fact that there are shortages of workers in these manufacturing jobs. And that is to say, whenever there's a labor shortage, that means the workers got a little bit of leverage. You know what I'm saying? That's when you can actually negotiate for higher wages, better benefits. So if any of our viewers are working in the manufacturing industry and you're noticing a labor shortage that's impacting your place of work, maybe consider organizing the workplace. Or if you don't want to do that, renegotiate what you're getting paid.
Well, that's an idea. On the other hand, I have a feeling there are going to soon be many more millions of workers entering the labor market, given all the people who are being put either furloughed or outright fired by DOGE right now from the bloated federal government bureaucracy in the United States. Now, whether those people have any real skills that translate to actual real jobs, who knows?
Yeah. So make the best of the situation because the situation is here, whether you like it or not. Okay, look, back to the fun stuff for a second, and then I'll tell you about Schakowsky. So this is like peak absurdity. Like the Democrats have to cut this crap out. I mean, thank God she didn't say, should we call it womanufacturing? Like if she had done that, we're toast. We'd lose every election in our lifetimes. Stop making up words. Nobody likes it. It doesn't make any sense. And by the way, it doesn't help more women get into manufacturing.
I love how the Young Turks has been so reasonable since Donald Trump's election. I mean, even Cenk Uygur, who really has done a complete 180 since Trump was reelected, and a lot of their viewers have noticed, and a lot of them are not happy about it. Obviously, Ana Kasparian was already going this way for at least a year or more before the election, but he's absolutely right. On the other hand, I applaud the Democrats and their progressive vision. I hope they keep pushing these theories. I think it's fantastic. Democrats, if you're listening, keep doing what you're doing.
And manu, by the way, means hand. In Latin, it means working with your hands. It's not a reference to gender. So that's super frustrating. Stop saying silly stuff. Now, having said that, Schakowsky, so that's unfortunately, the word police and nonsense stuff that's comes along with some progressives these days, and she is a deep progressive. But I don't want you to lose sight of some of the wonderful things she's done as a progressive. So it's easy to make fun right now, okay? But she also has focused on protections for trade union workers and on national health care reform. And so she does care about manufacturing jobs. She does care about American workers. She opposed the Iraq war, and I remember that from back in the day, and I've always appreciated her for that. And
fair enough. I oppose all wars like that too. Certainly opposed it at the time. In theory, I wasn't living in the States because I've been living in Europe for so long. But yeah, everyone should have been opposed to the Iraq war, and if they weren't opposed to it, they should apologize for being in favor of it.
And she comes from one of the, and by the way, she ran a more progressive populist campaign to get into Congress against J.B. Pritzker, of all people, who's now the current governor of Illinois. And he spent a lot of money on that race, and she won anyway. by appealing to the people. She comes from one of the most progressive districts in the country. And then she also comes from one of the most Jewish districts in the country. And she protested Netanyahu's speech to Congress and didn't go. So,
Wow, absolutely based, to be fair. God, I find myself agreeing with Cenk again. I mean, if that speech that Netanyahu gave in the U.S. Congress was absolutely revolting. I mean, frankly, I didn't even watch the speech, but I saw all the standing ovations. He got something like 50 standing ovations or something. It was insane the way the U.S. Congress, American lawmakers were lauding him, applauding him and lauding him, and just kowtowing to him. And I would describe it in more disgusting terms, but I won't here on YouTube. But it was absolutely revolting. You know, that and even if you don't, I mean, leaving aside the whole war between Israel and Gaza, just the fact that a foreign leader would be so, you know, so, what's the word? I'm not finding my words tonight. Just would be so disgustingly sucked up to by the U.S. Congress it was just revolting to watch. And it just shows how much influence Israel has over the United States government.
as we have fun with this, don't forget she's also done some wonderful things and been a principled person for a long time.
All right. So enough of that today. But you know, leave it up to the Democrats. I hope they keep going down this road. Let me know what you think in the comments. I love to see this kind of stuff because, you know, if they don't learn from their mistakes, that's good for the rest of us. So let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.